On? It's your boy, Canvas Nomad here, and welcome to another Captain's Log. And I keep feeling like, yeah, sorry about that. I think I have figured out what's going on. I know somebody that lives right there, and I guess maybe because I connected to their Wi-Fi every time I walk by the house, it connects and then it disconnects and so I gotta remember that for next time. But I feel like I'm not getting my point across with this whole freedom concept. So I want to try again. And I'll do like a more structured video based on, like edits and words and all that stuff. But as of right now, I want to get into the habit of just filming every day, so that when I do actually start to get in front of a computer in a stationary spot, I am, I already have the habit installed, if that makes sense. And there's no mic today, so you're going to hear everything, because it's just easier to get that out. So yeah, freedom, right? So yesterday I started off by talking about class and saying that there's a specific like number amount for a class, and I use derivatives of 10, so 100,000, a million, 10 million, 100 million, whatever the case may be, right? And I feel like those could easily be different subsets of different classes, right? And think about the caste system in India. Well, I'm pretty sure it's not a caste system anymore, but I'm pretty sure royalty has the top say, and then there's everybody else. But back in the day, the caste system is whatever class you were born into, that was the class that you had to stay in. And no matter what, that was what it was. You wasn't going to remove yourself from that. So I feel like elements of that exist today. So you're gonna have people, and again, you have to have a working class, because it doesn't behoove anybody who owns a company or a conglomerate or some kind of entity to not have workers, because then they got to get back in the trenches and do the work themselves. So it behooves them to have a working class. Now, a working class are people who are in the mud. They're in the bucket with the other crabs. They're the ones that have to get out. Now, if those that be can control, laws and a whole bunch of other stuff that we at the bottom, well, everybody technically have to follow, then all we have to do is sit there and say, let me create a border between classes that is invisible. So what you do, you make sure to price everything where to live this type of lifestyle, you have to be in this tax bracket, right? So you have to make a certain amount. So people over 250, I mean, maybe middle class is not 200, maybe it's 150, but I don't think it's gonna be near 100K at all. And anything lower than that, it's you're basically trying to survive. But they need most people below that threshold, so it's harder to get out. So now you put prerequisites on trying to get out of your class, right? So you say things like you have to get a degree, and we know that starting entry-level degree jobs start at this level, and then the maximum for certain degrees, depending on what you get, is anywhere from here to here, right? So let's say a max on a degree could be 100K to maybe 120K, depending on what it is that you're doing. Then if you get a master's degree, you're in another tax bracket, and it can go from here to here. Then if you get your PhD, it's from here to here. But now we control the gates, because we're saying, for you to work at my company, you got to go to my friend's school and get his piece of paper that says that you can work in the position that I'll allow. But now I know how obedient you are based on your GPA. So now I'm going to look at that and see how much you'll do, how well you'll do for me. It all makes sense, and it's all disguised through capitalism. That's the crazy thing. It's all disguised through capitalism. And then when a person gets to that certain level, then they get around, they bump shoulders with people that can introduce them to different ways of life, i.e. getting an LLC. Then you realize, okay, when you hear tax laws from the right, they're talking about tax laws in terms of LLC, but they just say tax law. So it's like when you get a 45%, you know, whatever it is, it's based on people that have a business, not the average person. But when the left, which are Democrats, say something about the tax law, they're talking about the everyday person based on the Social Security. So now most people is usually using their Social Security to collect money. That's why you have opposing sides showing that they're fighting, but they're really not. They're just passing bills in different categories of tax. So it works. That's why it's two sides to the same coin. And I don't understand why people go crazy for the left or the right, because they're literally working together. You know, they're just putting on a show. Hollywood, DC is just Hollywood for older people. That's it. DC is just Hollywood for older people. So they have to dramatize it, because when they want to put it on the news, then they need to send that propaganda, that brainwashing, that MK Ultra type of stuff, even though the TV wasn't necessarily used in MK Ultra to a certain degree. It was more like drugs and stuff. But you get the point. Look, during the cough incident, people were in the air asking how high to jump. When the government was like, hey, you need to take this, or you won't be able to work, you won't be able to go to the gym, you won't be able to go grocery shopping, etc. People didn't budge. And I'm saying this now. Now, I'm not sure if, I just want to leave this on record. I'm sure the next big scare is going to be something from space. Whether it's the sun and a solar flare that's going to hit the earth and damage all the computers, or it'll be an alien invasion. If you notice, they're starting to bring that alien stuff into the mainstream. I think there was a meeting the other day where the guy was like, UAPs certainly do exist. And the guy was like, yo, do you have any communication with them? I go left all the time, so I apologize. I'm gonna get back to it. But the guy was like, do you have any communication with them? He was like, that term communication is a little, it's complex. Because when you're flying behind them and you're following them, that's technically communication. I guess he's right there. But he was like, do I ring their doorbell and ask them and say hello? That communication we have not done yet. I believe that's false. But they need plausible deniability to say, hey, listen, you asked if we communicated, and I said yes. And that will be the story that gets posted to the public. Because nobody's going to go on C-SPAN and watch this interview. You know what I mean? This is why independent journalism wins. That's why the right won this time, because he used independent journalism in his campaign, whereas unfortunately Kamala, she did use independent journalism, but she went to the controlled ones. So, which actually brings me back to the point of control. You have all these different obstacles that prevent you from getting to the next level, but it's done on purpose because they need you to stay in the working class. But because of capitalism, they say you'll be able to get out. So the illusion of freedom is there, just how hard are you willing to work to get out? But they make it every year harder and harder and harder and harder to get out, so that they can say, listen, as long as you work hard, you'll get out of there. But that's not it. Like, again, as long as you have the ability to live, have transportation, and take care of your family, I feel like any job should suffice for that, at the bare minimum. I'm not saying you're going to be taking trips here, you're going to be doing this there, but you should be able to have a family of at least a kid, one kid, a wife. You two work, and you should be able to provide comfortably. That's to me, if that was the case, then yeah, I would say there's an element of freedom. But they're making sure that even that is hard to do. And I'm talking about, you can be the manager of McDonald's and be able to do that. Even the manager of McDonald's nowadays is struggling to pay half their bills. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm trying to say. And of course, then what you do is that you set gatekeepers to then defend your case. It's all psychology. It's actually a very genius system. You have gatekeepers defend your case. So we train you in the education system on how we want you to run our theories, models, whatever it is. Of course, some of it is going to be based on truth. A lot of it is based on the winner writing history. But at the end of the day, we're going to teach you the way. If you get this piece of paper, you can now be a person who decides who goes past you or not. And what do I mean? If you get this piece of paper, you will now have credibility. And then when you sit there and say, oh, this person knows what they're talking about, it gives them credibility, allowing them to move up. And depending on how their work ethic, if they're working harder than you or not, they may move up faster than you. That's basically it. So now you have gatekeepers, and then you have different organizations that will gatekeep certain areas. So for example, if you have any Greek letters behind you, generally you're looking out for your own, right? Not saying that you won't hire anybody, but generally letters on a person's resume, you're more likely and prone to give them the job. It's kind of like nepotism. If I know somebody in my family needs a job, I can't give them the job. But if I know somebody that has a business themselves, I'll hire their kid and they'll hire my kid. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. That's reverse nepotism, but it's still a form of that. You can see it all over sports. Look at LeBron James. Look at what LeBron James just did. So he don't own the organization, so nobody can't say it's nepotism, but we understand what's going on. But now for the people that's at the bottom that don't have this network, and that's why they say network is your net worth and this, that, and the third, because what you're doing is getting exposure to crabs at the top of the bucket that can pull you up. That's networking 101. So when you're stuck in these situations where you feel like you can't really do much because you're just not making enough, you can't save any money, they give you, David Ramsey will tell you all these strategies and guides. Listen, if your bills are X and all you make is X, there's no Y to save. You understand what I'm saying? So you probably know better how to save money than somebody that has it, but you don't have the opportunity to practice it because, well, you don't have extra cash. So all of these things, you have doctors and lawyers that will reinforce what has been studied, what's been proven, but then when something comes out that hasn't been proven, based on their knowledge of the situation, they will then say, unless they're doing their own independent research, if they're just going by what's done, it's like a bank teller. It's like a bank teller. We know that the banks are correct? We understand that. However, would you go into a bank and tell the bank teller that he's corrupt? No. But if you have a situation with your banking, you're probably going to take it out on the teller because he's a representation of the company, right? Exactly. The bank teller is only doing what he's told to do. He doesn't know the levels of the stuff going up. And even if he has an idea, It's not confirmed. So he really doesn't know. He or she does not know. Therefore, they're only doing what's told. And that's the same thing for people in education and every form of business, I would say, except for maybe, I don't even think there's an exception. And now, that's where a lot of the control mechanisms go into play. So now they have plausible deniability because they have people from the ground up that they can say made it. They have people from the ground up that will defend their cause, their case. And now they can just sit back and let the thing run by itself. It's called autopilot. But if we set the limit to earn your freedom at 500K, and this is per year, then obviously the illusion of freedom is there because they know damn well most people's not going to hit 500K a year. And now what we do is call that capitalism. And you have your beast. That to me is why I don't think we have freedom. Because we're indoctrinated to understand that that's just how society is. Capitalism is the harder you work, the better life you have. And then on the other side, they'll tell you that your income is based on your contribution to society. I'll argue that the people at the bottom of the list is contributing to society way more because it's no longer about contribution, but more so attention. How much distraction do you give the world? That's the new currency. And most people at the bottom aren't willing to put in the work to be a distraction because they got their own life to take care of first. Slavery. It's modern day slavery. They just legalized it. It's my opinion, my thoughts. I don't know. Challenge me. Tell me in the comment section what you think. Hit me up. But I really think if you think about it, they just morphed the terminology. Like I said, minimum wage is just another term of sharecropping. Try to buy a house and tell me you own that, right? And then get a letter in the mail saying that this is a letter of eminent domain. The government is now trying to seize your house. And tell me if you think you're going to have a good time fighting that. Tell me if you own your house after that. You know what I mean? What did Klaus Schwab say? I forgot his name. He said, again, I ended it with the last video. You will own nothing and be happy. That is the point. Why do you think everything is going to subscription models? Because they learned from life insurance. People will pay off the fear of missing out. So now if we put all these distractions, we make it that much harder to get 500,000. None of these people would be free. So now your car is going to be on a lease instead of owning it. Your house is on a 30-year mortgage, so at least I know I'm getting money from you for 30 years. They introduced the concept of a credit card. Credit card has ruined so many lives because people don't know financial literacy. And even if you do know financial literacy, even if you do know financial literacy, if you don't make enough to practice it, the financial literacy won't help because you have to survive first. We're living in a time of delusion. We're being controlled. And I want my freedom. And I think YouTube is one of the best outlets for that. Because if attention is currency today, what better place to get attention? I hate to say it like that because I don't want the attention. If I could fly below the radar, that would be great. That'd be great. I don't want people to know about me, to be honest with you. But at the same time, I feel like if you got to play the game, you got to play the game. Just do it the way that helps you instead of playing their game. All right, it's your boy Chris Jack. Canvas Nomad here. Like, comment, subscribe. And if you made it this far in the video, you, my friend, are certainly appreciated. Peace.